welcome to Tad Talk. This is episode 21. It's April the 22nd. We are about 7 days away from truly knowing everybody's real hair color. A few days away from that. But welcome to the show. This is going to be a blast today. Three guys I'm very familiar with and are an integral part of everything we do at Tad. Sometimes behind the scenes, sometimes getting a little bit of glory on stage, but all brilliant in their own right. So first of all, welcome to the show. Chris Whiteley, how are you, Chris?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Good. How's your hair color? Seems to be okay. You seem to be doing okay in quarantine.
Yeah, I like to keep it all natural. So
very nice. Good. And a clean shirt for today, which is really nice.
Yeah, that's a change from the last week. Yeah.
Awesome. Also on the show, guys, we've been with Tad for a while. Phenomenal musician, also helps us with all our scheduling. Welcome to the show, Chad Cole. Chad, how are you, buddy?
Oh, I'm great.
Good. Where are you? I see a background. It's not a virtual background. Where are you?
I'm in my backyard. It's a rare, with this whole quarantine thing, downtown is completely quiet. I can be outside and you don't hear a whole bunch of cars and a bunch of people.
That's pretty cool. Different.
Yeah.
Different. It might start coming back pretty soon. Welcome to the show, Chad. And a guy I've been working with for about 10 years, amazing drummer, great person. Welcome to the show, Mike Richau. How are you, bud?
Great, Terry. Thanks for having me on. It's an honor to be here. It's clear at this point that you're scraping the bottom of the barrel for talent to put on the Tad Talk.
What we actually did was...
Nothing else, episode 21. What's that?
I wanted to get 20 episodes out of the way so we've got our format down right, and then we can bring in the real.
No, it's clear that, episode 21, this one here, will be the one that jumps the shark. Thanks for having me.
It's great having you all on, and we're going to kick the show off as we always do with three random quick-fire questions. We're going to start with Chris Whiteley. Hey, Chris, what is the best live concert you've ever attended, and where was it?
Oh, I've been to a handful of different shows. So I grew up a big Dave Matthews fan. I've been to a lot of Dave Matthews shows, and over the years, they all kind of start to blur together. So it actually kind of helps my favorite show stand out. It actually wasn't a Dave Matthews show. I saw Billy Joel at the Pepsi Center in Denver back in, I guess it was 2015. And Billy Joel is one of my first favorite musicians growing up. My uncle kind of turned me on to him. And I think it was just hearing all of those songs that I grew up with over the last, 25, 30 years played live for the first time. It kind of helps that concert stand out for me.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I have to go with Billy Joel.
Billy Joel, I love it, love it. By the way, we've got a lot of people watching, and there's someone, what was that name? Let me find it here. We got somebody, Raymond Kosturic said, hi, Chad.
That's my uncle. He lives at Sundance Village.
Is that right? Awesome. Yeah. Hi. And by the way, it's Kelly Ann Williams' birthday today, so happy birthday, Kelly. That's awesome. Chad, what's the best concert you've ever attended, and where was it?
Oh, man. The best concert I ever attended was at the Orpheum in downtown Phoenix, and it was seeing Tom Waits. I'm not even like a huge Tom Waits fan, but there was just something really special about that night, and I think to like really set the tone, he came out, he literally got up on his soapbox, started playing guitar and singing, stops the whole show, and he's like, guys, if I play this song this slow, we'll be here all night. And I think just that, like, seeing that people can be really real on stage, or if it was an act, it was well sold,
That's excellent. Oh, good value as well. Mike, what about you? Best concert, where was it?
Well, it wasn't the best concert musically, but there was a lot of anticipation leading up to it because it was my very first concert. I was 11 years old, and there were a few bands that came to town before that that I had missed, and it was the one concert that my mom finally let me go to. And she bought 3 tickets, one for me, one for my private drum instructor at the time, and his girlfriend to take me so that she wouldn't have to go. But it was my first concert, and I remember not being able to sleep the nights leading up to it because I was so excited. And I was 11 years old. It was at the ASU Activity Center. It was Poison and Warrant. January 6th, 1991.
Nice, very nice. I think the favorite concert I've ever been to, there's loads of Billy Joel stuff in that, but Ann and I saw David Bowie in Tacoma, Washington, and I think it was probably around about 1987, 88. It was amazing. It was an incredible week for concerts because we saw David Bowie, Duran Duran, Billy Joel, and Paul McCartney in the same week. It was a crazy week, all in one. But Bowie was sensational. But cool answers. All right, here's the next question. This one's going to Chad first. Chad, are you ready for this?
Oh, I'm ready.
All right. The house is on fire. Your house is on fire. Everybody's safely out. The pets are safely out. All your wallets and the cash, they're all saved, everything. But you've got the chance to go back in and make one last dash and save one thing. What would it be?
I probably should say, one of my bases or some piece of gear, but I think with quarantine, I've been logging a lot more time into my Nintendo Switch, and so I think that's what I'd have to grab.
The Switch?
Yeah.
All of a sudden, all those love emoticons just went flying all over. Mike, what would you save? Mike?
No, is it me?
Yeah.
My computer, for sure.
Your laptop?
Yeah, I can't live without it.
Can you imagine? I've seen your face when the battery goes. Chris, what about you? What would you save?
Well, I want to say my laptop, but I figured Mike would take that one. I don't know. I was kind of looking around my place. So I've traveled a lot over the years, and I've got a collection of shot glasses from all over the world that kind of seem inconsequential, but they're right near the door, so I'd probably my travels.
Absolutely. Brilliant. Great answers. All right. I love this question. I can't wait for this. It's going to start with Mike. I fear the answers somewhat. Mike, you've just been promoted to the CEO of TAD Management. All right. What is the first executive decision you're going to make as CEO?
Well, you may or may not be expecting this answer, but I would say TAD drum sets for every show and drum techs at every show.
Scotty, can you write that down? Something we're not going to do next year? We're going to do next year. Okay, I like that. What about you, Chris?
First decision, CEO. I think I'd fly the whole tech team to the South Pacific for a week-long creative meeting.
Any particular place you're going to take?
Bora Bora.
Okay, great. That's great. I'll get Scotty onto this. He's going to buy a ton of drums, hire drum techs, and fly everybody down to Bora Bora to learn how to set them up.
With a budget for pina coladas.
Yes, exactly. Chad, you're now the CEO. What's your first executive decision?
Oh, well, I think I'd have to do this for Tyler Alcorn, and I'd have to just change it to Chad Management.
Chad Management, I like it. Love it, love it, love it. Well, this is great. 3 amazing musicians, all got amazing careers prior to TAD and now with TAD. So I'd love to get into it with all of you. And let's learn about a little bit about what you do. Let's start with you, Chris. I know you're originally from Reading, Pennsylvania, near the Philadelphia area. But tell us about life before TAD. How did you get doing this, whether it's the start of your career or your career progress?
Yeah, no, I started playing the saxophone in 4th grade in grade school. Although the more I think about it, I always start there when people ask how I got into music. But I guess before that, I sang in the church choir, which I know a lot of musicians get their start there. So I was a kid when I started doing music, but it wasn't really a career choice until I got into high school and decided to go to college for music, where I was encouraged to have a fallback degree, not just performance. So I went to school to teach and perform. So I was a teacher for a couple of years at a college. Worked cruise ships as a performer for a number of years. I toured with the Dave Matthews tribute band for a number of years. Went back to cruise ships, and then I ended up in Denver, having a go at being part of an original band where we got to write our own music and tour, which was kind of I want to say feet first plunge into the deep end. It was more like a face plant onto the concrete of the music business side of things. So the highs are very high and the lows are very low, but it was a great learning experience. And when it was time for a change, I reached out to you guys, and I found myself in Phoenix here. So
that's great. And of course, we met years ago on the Holland America Amsterdam.
Yes.
Did you enjoy cruising?
I did. I still do. Hopefully, I will in the future. It kind of came out of nowhere. I was actually towards the end of my teaching, I guess you could call it a career. It was only 3 years long. I was substitute teaching, so I didn't have much of an income in the summers. So I had a temp job at a gas company, setting up appointments for the meter readers. And one of the guys who was reading the meters was part of a ship party band and was doing this temp job just to kind of bridge the gap between contracts, and suggested that I reach out and audition because they were looking for musicians. I'd never really considered it before. And that kind of changed the whole trajectory of what I was doing with music and got me out of the teaching side and into the performing side. And I started working for Carnival Cruise Lines that fall, and just kind of climbed the ranks there and worked for a couple different cruise lines. But I love to travel, so getting a chance to perform while touching all 7 continents was kind of a dream come true. I'm quite fortunate to still get a chance to travel all over the world working with you guys.
Excellent. No, it's great stuff. And for anyone who hasn't seen any of these three play, in a second, not just yet, we're going to go to video. I have the honor, let alone the pleasure, of performing with them. And I don't want to say they're cherry-picked, but kind of in my mind they are. We play many venues, and recently, earlier last year, we played what, in my opinion, is one of the best venues in this country, and that's Parks Casino, the Excite Center in Bensalem. Fantastic venue, amazing tech, amazing people there, everybody. Take a sit back and just watch all the band and these three in action with Piano Men at Parks Casino.
Reading, Pennsylvania, Chris Whiteley. Chris. Over there on drums, all the way from West Palm Beach, Florida. He's amazing, Mike Richau. Next to him on bass guitar, I don't know if you can get the camera on Chad's face there, but just take those glasses off, Chad. If you look closely, you can see he has on a night when the Oscars are on, very strong genetics in the movie industry. His grandfather was the Cowardly Lion in The Wizard of Oz. And his father was Hagrid in Harry Potter. On bass guitar from Phoenix, Arizona, Chad Cole.
We've got comments about, we always get comments about Mike's hair, but all the ladies are going, I want that hair of Chad's. So jealous of that hair.
Oh, it's too much work.
That's awesome.
Why it's always up.
And you can see at my stage in my career, the performing side of it, that's really that is my escape from all the day-to-day stuff. Being on stage with these three and everyone else on that stage is just phenomenal. And that venue, it's off the charts. It's great. So Chad, welcome to the show. You and I chat obviously all the time about stuff and give each other crap on stage the whole time. But you're brilliant to work with. I love it. Love your demeanor, love your playing and everything. Tell us about your musical life prior to we got to know each other.
So I started playing when I was about 13 and played only upright bass, only did classical music, and started out at ASU and that kind of just consumed my life. Didn't really even own an electric bass until I was 18. And I was living with a bunch of jazz majors, and I realized just the way that they would talk and the way that they would play, I'm like, oh man, there's so much more to music than reading these notes on a page. And wound up kind of getting into a little bit of jazz and playing some rock music, and started a band, and was picked up by a band here in Phoenix, and we did some touring in Europe, and came back and had done some touring here with some other bands, and I've kind of just always lived the freelance musician lifestyle, and I'm happy that I can make it work. And I think now Tad's really given me the opportunity to just focus on playing and getting better and working in the office and learning a whole bunch of other skills that I never thought I would have the opportunity to learn.
Oh, we love having you around, obviously. I want to touch, I think I'm going to say the right thing here, because it's in my memory from hearing you and Nick talk about stuff. But isn't there some connection with you and music and Ronald McDonald?
Yeah. So last summer, I went on a tour with a punk band, and we were supporting a tour with a I don't want to necessarily call them a tribute act, but they play the music of Black Sabbath, dressed up as Monsanto mutated Ronald McDonald characters. So you've got the Hamburglar, you've got the Hamburglar that becomes the Cat Burglar playing the drums. You've got Grimace, who's now Grim Alice, playing bass. One of the cheeseburgers becomes Slayer McCheese and plays guitar. And then you've got Ronald Osborne, so the mix of Ronald McDonald and Ozzy Osbourne. And so spent 6 weeks with them, hanging out and seeing them play every night. And I literally, about a week ago, was on a big Zoom meeting with them and the rest of the band I was on tour with, just hanging out and, getting to enjoy each other's company in these weird times.
Cool. It sounds like a fun show. Can we see any of their footage on YouTube? Is that stuff out on there?
Yeah, absolutely. There's you can and check them out. They're called Max Sabbath. They're beyond hilarious.
Big Mac Sabbath, or just Mac Sabbath?
Max Sabbath.
Max Sabbath, go and check it out. It's brilliant. Great having you on the show, Chad. It's brilliant. There's an orange behind you, just to your left. Can you grab that? Can you reach it or not?
It's too far.
Mike, how are you?
Great, thanks, Terry. How about yourself?
Brilliant, fantastic. So what's the deal with the hair now? I mean, this is your normal hair, I know, but what are you doing about color? How do you feel about that?
You can see the rock and roll is kind of growing out there. You know, it's like as soon as I can start playing drums again, it's going to start pumping white bleach blonde out again. So we'll see what happens with it. But you know, with the salons closed, I had to do my hair for the first time today myself, and that was kind of a challenge. So kind of a bad hair day.
Drummer with a conscience, I love it.
Hair spray can't.
You know, I as a musician, and especially at this stage in my career, I really value being on stage with people who actually give a shit about what they're doing while they're on stage, and brilliant musicians. I love it. I guess I've got that luxury at this stage in my career. So we've talked about it before, Mike, with drummers. We've got some great drummers at TED, Tyler Alcorn, Stevie Hagel, you. I'm going to kick myself. I'm not throwing out the other names, but there's so many fantastic drummers. I love working with you because the most important thing to me, first of all, is the clock. And it has to, and you and I look all the time, and I'm sure you think, shit, he wants me to bring it down a half a beat a minute. What's he joking about? You know, but we just look at each other and it changes. You're brilliant at that. And yet you entertain too. And I think it's what separates you, because I do think that some musicians look at you and go, he's all flash. But you're not. You're a brilliant musician. I just wanted to get that out before, because I love that about you. But anyway, enough about you. Let's talk about you before TED. You know, playing, learning, teaching, all that stuff. Tell us about you, Mike.
Yeah, so I would say my story starts out similar to Chris's, where, you know, at a young age, I was in early elementary school when I started to really take a liking to music. The radio stations would play the music. My parents would listen to particular radio stations that played rock music that's now considered classic rock. But I would wear, you know, second, third grade, my Motley Crue, Def Leppard shirts to school. And that was my choice. That wasn't my parents dressing me. That was something that I was always into. So they agreed that that I had this interest in music, this particular interest in music. And they agreed to, you know, get me some kind of lessons. So I decided on drums, and they said, "Are you sure?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "I want to do drums." So they had me taking drum lessons, and I played in the school band programs all the way as soon as I could start in 4th grade, all the way through 12th grade. So as soon as I hit 18, there was one clear path for a professional career. However, there was such a saturation of talent and performers in the adult film industry. So at that point, I decided that I would do this next second best thing, and that would be make music and do music as a professional career. So I went to school. I'm looking at Chad. So I went to school. Became a music education major, graduated, taught elementary school general music and band for 12 and a half years. On the side, same time as doing that, I would also perform as a musician. I started my own company doing corporate entertainment, as well as performing with TED starting 10 years ago. It was 2010 when we started working together. So 10 years now at this point.
Oh, that's brilliant. And I know, just to touch on there, because I definitely want to talk about Boom, but with the teaching, I know that there was a period of time in there, I don't know, 2 or 3 years, where you were juggling everything, playing, you know, 100, 120 gigs a year and teaching 9 months of it. I know from working with you and talking to you that you loved being with the kids, but maybe the hours and the pressure of juggling them was a little bit difficult near the end of teaching.
Yeah, you know, there were many factors to consider, you know, when you're looking at being a teacher with a fixed, you know, income versus being a professional musician, where, you know, you're doing something that you've trained for so long to be able to do. You love doing it. The income is a little unsteady and uncertain. You definitely are faced with some decisions. You can kind of do both, which was what I did for a while. But at some point, I decided to just kind of cut the ties of the teaching and kind of move into the performing. And I'm glad I did. The only thing is, the only regret, I'm not really one to regret anything I do. But I think that if I could have gone back, I probably would have jumped ship a little bit sooner.
Really? Do you miss anything about it?
You know what? I miss some of the great students that I had. There were some really great students. Just teaching, putting together a great lesson, teaching those kids and seeing the smiles on their faces, watching them develop their learning, taking them, especially at the elementary school level, you're taking them to where they know absolutely nothing about music. And then wherever they make it to is a direct result of what you've been able to lead them to, so right. It's very rewarding in that sense. So that is what I do miss about the teaching.
Yeah, it's very fulfilling. Beth Jasper just wrote, "Oh my God, I would have loved having Mike as a music teacher in school." It's all down to the hair, Mike.
You know what? That's what he says. They look at me and they think, you must be the coolest teacher. If you have your shit together in my class, you have a good time. Yeah. If you don't, you have a bad time in my class.
That's brilliant. Mike has a corporate project that he talks about that is absolutely brilliant. It's called Boom. We're having a few tech issues on the show today, but we're going to try and show this video from streaming it to you from YouTube. Check out Boom. Boom. Indeed. Wow, it's great. And Mike, I think you got anything from a 2-piece, 3-piece, 4-piece group to any number, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
We try to keep it reasonable, but it's easy to get out of hand pretty quickly with too many performers.
Well, we've been working on trying to hire a 60-piece group from you for the sole purpose of waking Nick up in the morning. So that would be...
May need more people than that.
So tell us about Boom, because obviously it's a corporate feature, which is quite obvious and very, very successful. But I love the concept of Boom. I think it's great what you've done and how you've driven your business. So tell us a little bit about Boom.
Yeah. So its primary purpose is really, bring high energy experiences to corporate events, which is kind of a thing. You've got a lot of companies that do meetings. They do, they'll travel, they'll take the whole company from, their location to a destination in the Southwest, Southern California, Arizona for a week, and do, some professional development, sales meetings, sales projection meetings for the next year and so on. And then they'll really want to kick that off with something exciting and loud and fun. And that's where we come in. That's what we do. So we serve events all over the U.S. We do fairs, corporate events, festivals, anything you can really think of. So.
Oh, yeah. You do it so well. It's so good. Yeah, it's great. All three of you, the stuff you're working on is great. But thanks a lot to all three. We're going to move to the section of the show we called Where in the World is Terry?
Where in the world is Terry? Where in the world is Terry?
Where in the world am I today? Okay, so first thing, we're switching it up today. I'm not going to take us to a geographical area. Today, I'm putting me in a movie. My background will change to a movie. You have to tell me what movie I'm in. Okay, sounds pretty simple, right? I think we'll start with Chad Cole.
All right.
Okay, no pressure, Chad. Where in the world is Terry? Which movie?
Oh, Jerry Maguire.
Look at that. Boom. Didn't take long, did it? You
No,
guys have that?
What was that?
Do you other two get that? Was that easy?
Yeah.
Mike?
Yeah, I've never seen it, but I recognize the footage. Yeah.
Cool. All right, Mike, we're going to turn to you. Mike, where in the world am I? Yes, I'm covering his face.
Yeah, I do not know this one.
Great movie. Who we got there? Oh, look at that. Look at that. Looks like it's Sean Penn and Tim Robbins. Chad's nodding his head.
Yeah, I have not seen this one.
No? You going to pass it off, Mike?
Yeah.
All right. Chris or Chad, do you have it?
I don't think I know that one.
No. This is in my top 5 movies of all time. Any viewers out there? Any viewers? What was that?
That's why I don't know it.
Exactly. Well, the answer is Mystic River. You guys seen it? Okay, well, that was a big
Seen it.
wasn't it? All right, Chris, we're going to you. That one was Mystic River.
All right.
What movie am I in, Chris?
I'm not sure if I recognize this one.
Oh, that's a big all-time classic. Robert Redford.
Class movies. I don't think I've seen this one.
You guys suck, you know that, don't you?
Yeah. You remind us daily.
Yeah, exactly. Chad, any idea, Chad?
No, I've never seen this.
No? This is The Sting. Have you seen The Sting?
Heard of it.
Crap, all this, I heard of it. Making me feel old. Those were the 3 movies today. And yes, that was an epic fail because I had no clue what it was doing.
It's where the show jumps the shark.
Yeah, exactly. We're going to move to the question I ask in every show, which I love this question. And it is this. If you could spend the next 60 minutes with 2 people, dead or alive, in one place anywhere in the world, who would you like to spend the next hour with? Where would you go? What would you talk about? I'm going to start with Mike. Mike, 2 people, one place anywhere in the world. Who would it be? Where would you go?
I would say Freddie Mercury. And, the place obviously could really be anywhere. Or perhaps maybe Wembley. That's where they did the Live Aid concert, right? That would be cool. Just before they go on, that would be kind of cool. The second person, I don't know. I'm not much of a people person, so this is a tough question for me. I don't know. Somebody, Chris Voss, who is somebody I listen to a lot.
Yeah.
Who I'd like to spend some time with. That would be pretty cool.
He could negotiate your way into the band.
Exactly.
That's brilliant. Freddie Mercury actually is the most popular answer to that question. You know? Yeah, absolutely. Chris, 2 people, one place, anywhere in the world.
Me, I think 2 people would be my granddad, whom I never actually met. Both my granddads passed away before I was born, but I've heard stories from my mom. And based on the stories, I gather I take after him a bit more than maybe some of my other relatives. So I think it'd be cool to get to know him in person. And then to go the celebrity route, I think Bruce Springsteen.
Cool.
Would be kind of a cool guy to grab a drink with. And just because I'm nostalgic, the place I'd like to go back to would be a Hershey Bears game at the old Hershey Park Arena. Which I'm sure most of the viewers aren't going to get the reference there. But for me growing up where I grew up, and
Cool.
is a spot I hung out at a lot.
That's great. Your granddad and you at the game. Love it. Chad, two people, one place. Who would it be? Where?
Oh, I think for me it would be my mom and my grandma. I think, and at the old convenience store that they used to own. I would love to hear all the stories. My mom grew up in a small town in Texas, and her mom owned a little business, and I've just heard all sorts of crazy stories, so I'd maybe like to live an hour of that.
That's great. I love that. Yeah. Where was the grocery store? Where was the convenience store?
It was in Big Spring, Texas.
Wow. Which part of Texas is that?
That's in West Texas. It's by Midland, Odessa. Like, it's in between Midland and Odessa.
Excellent. That would be some meeting. What a cool way to spend an hour.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Hey, Mike, Justin Tundavari in Florida said of one of those movies, is this one from your adult movie career? I don't know. He was guessing. So it's been so good having the three of you on the show. Really, really good. These guys are so integral, as are all the co-musicians and tech crew who we do have on next week in what we do at TED, navigating through these times and coming back stronger than ever. So thank you all for being part of what we do. You're all such a positive influence on all of us. I'd love to find out what your plans are, not just maybe today or the next year, but the next 10 years. How do you see your career evolving, Chad?
Oh, for the next 10 years, I'd really just keep doing what I'm doing, getting better every day, getting smarter, and being a better player, and understanding that there's things to do musically outside of than just being on the stage or in the practice room. I feel like I'm on a really good trajectory, and to continue to grow and learn.
Awesome. Chris, what about you? Next 10 years?
10 years is a long time.
It is.
I'm really enjoying what I'm doing right now, because I get to perform. I get to do some writing and arranging. I'm starting to get a taste of producing some of these things, the behind the scenes stuff, and I think I'd kind of like to come out on the other side of that with a little bit more personal time to get back to writing my own stuff. In a past life, back in college and shortly after that, I was a composer. The extent that you can be an unknown composer. And so this kind of pause, if you will, has allowed me to write a little bit of my own thing. But I'd like to do a little bit more of that, explore that side of the creative that I haven't had a chance to do a whole lot of over the last 10 years. So.
Excellent. It's great. So good to see you flourishing with Tad and down here in Phoenix. It's awesome as we creep towards our first 100-degree day. It's good to see you flourishing. Mike, what about you? I know Boom's an integral part of that, but what other plans do you have? 10 years.
Yeah, just continue to, professionally develop, business, refine my business skills. Just my family, my kids. My kids are entering their teenage years, so I want to be able to make sure that I'm there for everything I need to be for that. I'm expecting some challenges ahead with that, so I want to be ready for that. So.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
No, it's great stuff. And I want to stress too, as we are running a company, as Mike knows only too well, it becomes with so many challenges. And the bigger you get, the more wide the challenges are, and the less time you have to spend on each individual one. But I do want to say to you and all the musicians and tech crew that work for us at TED, we couldn't obviously not do it without you, but not just because of the playing. What we've developed at TED is amazing. And you guys are the reason why we're able to keep pushing forward and being so good. And we really, really do appreciate it. I also appreciate you being on the show. It's been brilliant today. Thanks, Chris, Chad, and Mike. Awesome.
Sure.
And thanks to everyone for watching. This has been a great episode of TAD Talk. As Mike pointed out, this is where the shows really begin. Episode 21 with three musicians. And Mike's obviously just getting ready for his next interview. Tomorrow we've got a fantastic show. coming your way. It's featuring Arthur Lager and Nadia Coma. Now, you may think those are not names I know. No, they're not, because they're puppets. We have ventriloquists on the show, but they're not going to be on screen. It's just going to be their puppets. And yes, we have some fun questions for them. So that's tomorrow on TAD Talk. We got some fantastic guests coming up next week. Thanks for joining us. Stay safe, stay healthy, and we will see you tomorrow for another episode of TAD Talk. Take it easy.